We are live from our studios here in Kunmimle in Accra. This is Joy News. Welcome to Ghana's leading business analysis program, Beyond the Numbers.
This is the only show dedicated market updates, bringing you updates on deals and key headlines shaping your business day.
Indeed, in the chart development in cocoa sector, price drop in Val's Day is key to one discuss. So, interesting enough, tomorrow actually is
Valentine's Day.
And this week we'll be discussing the cocoa sector. And the fact has to do with people understanding how we can revive the cocoa sector, including several reforms. But people are also having broken hearts in this season.
Talking about broken hearts, but we're still going to soothe our broken hearts with some chocolates.
Okay.
But when last did you actually purchase a chocolate?
Yeah. I think I tasted one recently that has a coffee and cocoa taste, and that was the first time I tasted it yesterday, and it tasted amazing. Surprising
to hear that coffee chocolate actually tastes nice, because I would rather want to do my normal white chocolate or the cocoa.
Ladies and chocolates. All right, so you have to show someone love, and definitely the love has to be around the world, to your colleagues, your friends, your loved ones. Send them some chocolate as we celebrate this birthday. Michelle?
Well, definitely starting with cocoa, as Ghana slashes cocoa farm gate price by 28%, the first cut since at least 2020. Now, the decision follows falling global cocoa prices and mounting payments arrears owed to farmers. Announcing the reduction as part of a broader reform package, the finance minister assured farmers that outstanding payments would be settled.
On the economic front, fresh data from the Ghana Statistical Service point to a moderation in economic activity. The provisional monthly indicator of economic growth shows the economy expanded by 4.2% year-on-year in November 2025, but compares with a stronger 7.1% expansion recorded in November 2024, signaling a cooling in growth momentum. Services grew by 6.7%, down from 10.2% a year earlier. Agriculture recorded a modest improvement, expanding by 4.1% compared with 3.8% last year. Industry, however, remained the weakest performer, growing by just 0.4%, a sharp slowdown from the 6.2% recorded in November.
Well, in agribusiness, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture has secured $90 million in the niche investment to establish a shea processing factory. Now, the government also has shared plans to introduce a phased ban on the export of raw shea nuts this year. Officials say the move is intended to support local processors, build domestic capacity, and develop export-ready brands capable of capturing greater value on the international markets.
Now, heading to the next telecommunications space, where MTN Ghana Chief Executive Officer Ziblim has announced plans to invest more than $300 million in 2026 to expand network infrastructure and deepen digital transformation. He said improved exchange rate stability has strengthened the company's ability to procure equipment and accelerate expansion, noting that a firmer cedi enhances purchasing power for critical infrastructure investment.
And now to energy, where Nigeria has formally handed over a fully furnished headquarters for the Africa Energy Bank, fulfilling its commitment as host country and clearing a key hurdle for the bank's operational launch. Now, the Africa Energy Bank is expected to play a central role in closing Africa's energy financing gap, strengthening energy security, and supporting sustainable oil and gas investments across the continent.
Now, from energy, we head to the mining, where fresh figures shows Ghana produced a record 6 million ounces of gold in 2025. Checks indicate large-scale mining companies contributed 2.9 million ounces, unchanged from the previous year, according to the association representing multinational and local mining firms.
And finally, to the fixed income markets, where Cocoa Board is set to resume bond issuance soon as government restructures cocoa purchasing model. Now, how is the market responding to this news? We find shortly. This is Beyond the Numbers.
Indeed. Before we move to the market watch, we're still talking about Val's Day, and this is interesting because love is always expressed in gifts.
Yeah. So what are you getting for your loved one this Val's Day?
Gift is always better when it's a surprise.
Okay.
Yeah, but definitely cake is going to reflect on it.
Okay, but I will be enjoying my favorite Golden Tree chocolate, above Golden Tree, and maybe sip on some wine and enjoy some movies for the weekend.
Yeah, so this is indeed beyond the numbers. So we're going to move straight to the market, Michelle. We will have, currently we're going to have straight to the market watch, which will come back shortly. We will be having Grace Manoyun, who will be joining us to give us analysis on how the stock has performed so far. And we have Grace, who is right now on Zoom. Grace, can you hear us?
Yes, loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Great. Michelle.
Well, Grace, we want to find out how's the market responding to government's announcement of Cocoa Board's return to board issuance.
Right. Thank you for inviting me. I think it's a little bit too early to conclude as to how markets will respond in the market. But as you see now, there's currently offers on the markets for the existing cocoa bonds. I won't really affiliate it to the announcement because this has been the case over the past until today. And I believe investors are currently on the wait and see approach because we don't know whether it's going to be a retap on the existing bonds or there's going to be a new issuance. So investors are kind of on the wait and see approach. And also considering the fact that today being market day on treasury bills, investors are also looking to go onto the short-term curve of the market instead of the existing secondary market. So yeah, currently offers on the existing bonds, but I wouldn't really associate it to the announcement. I believe this will kick in, the announcement will kick in somewhere from next April.
Now, Grace, I want to understand from you, considering the fact that people had to experience the haircut due to the cocoa bond restructuring that happened some years ago, is the market currently ready for a new cocoa bond issuance?
Right. I mean, the Ghanaian market has gone through a lot of ups and downs. I would admit that. But also looking at what we have on the market in terms of investment, which is the treasury market, we are doing somewhere around below 10% returns for the 91-day bill. I think investors will be looking towards any high yielding returns in terms of securities. And if the cocoa bond should present a higher yield, I mean, investors will want to take a burn on their hands. I mean, your money will be sitting there idle without retaining anything. So it's worth taking the risk. I believe the market is ready for the cocoa bonds, and yes, it's the right time for government to come in.
Well, Grace, tell us, is this likely to affect equities in the coming days?
Right, like I already noted, if the rates are compelling enough, we don't know whether it's a retap on the existing bonds or a new issuance, and if the new issuance is going to be higher than what we currently have on the market, which is 13%, I believe investors may want to diversify a bit, but not really entirely away from the stock market because we currently see some boom in terms of interest on the market. So maybe investors may want to weigh options and then maybe diversify in terms of where to place their funds other than move entirely away from the stock market.
Now, let's now focus on the equities for this week. We began from Monday, set the train on Tuesday. Today is Friday. Which are the top gainers and basically the laggards?
Yeah, in terms of laggards, as of today, we don't have any. We currently have gainers. EcoBank still leading the gainers charts. We have MTN coming in, and I believe this is based on the back of the announcement of the company to invest about $3 million in terms of capex, as you rightly mentioned. And I believe investors are also on the wait and see for any dividend announcements on the front of these companies who are yet to release their numbers. MTN has noted they release their numbers on 27th, next week Friday. So investors are more like wait and see if some dividend announcements will come into play. Then why not?
Which do you suspect to open the market hugely on Monday?
Sorry, can you take that again?
Where do you project to open the market big on Monday?
Yeah, currently bids are standing on MTN Ghana. We also see some on EcoBank Ghana and Cowbank, Guinness Ghana as well. We expect these counters to make a lot of good entrance to open the week trading next week. So yeah, equity market is still thriving. There are some other stocks that are coming through, but as to whether they will match trades, that is left to investors' taste. And maybe probably dividend announcements along the way.
Thank you very much, Grace Manayu, for giving us this update consistently from Monday to Wednesday, Friday. Indeed, we are more informed about the stock market today, and this is something that we'll always bring you here beyond the numbers, and certainly be looking forward to what is happening in the market this coming week. And don't forget that indeed it is increasing. As you've heard, most of the stocks are performing widely and performing amazingly. And we'll certainly be moving to another very interesting conversation on the big analysis. We'll go straight to Cocoa Board. Yes, there are new reforms that have been released by the Finance Minister, Dr. Kesla Tuforsen. And also, there's a report released by the Chamber of Agribusiness stipulating and warning Ghana that we should be up and going because Benin have decided to invest hugely in the manufacturing sector and how it reflects on us as an economy, basically the agri sector and also our export potential as a nation. We will bring you this on the big analysis. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Beyond the Numbers, and this is the big analysis where we're going to break down critical big issues that are definitely important for national development. Now, today on the chopping table is Cocoa Board. Cocoa Board new reform announced by the Finance Minister, and indeed we'll be breaking it down here. We'll also be joined by Jerome, who is the Communication Director of Cocoa Board, who will be also giving us some insight on some of the policy proposition by the Cocoa Board itself. And also there is a conversation by the Chamber of Agribusiness warning government that there are manufacturing competition. We always say let's have a fair playing ground, especially when it comes to export potential of our processed goods. Benin has begun. Some of the West African countries are beginning to invest on the economy, and we'll see that reflect in their growth. How is Ghana ready to be more competitive? Because we said years back we began with Agenda 111, getting more factories in the country, and this is going to see how fast we can also ensure one district, one factory, all those conversations. If we had started earlier, where would we have been today? Yes, and my name is Winston, Tackie, and I'm joined right now with
Caleb Ziblim. Always a pleasure to be here, Winston.
Always there. I didn't bring chocolate for you, my brother, but I'm sure tomorrow's birthday, your baby will bring you chocolate.
I'm expecting some.
That's what we're talking about. Okay. Now, let's go straight to the numbers. Let's begin with Cocoa Board. Now, tell us, historically, how has the farm gate prices gone so far, looking at these figures?
So, even before this, if you can go to the previous two slides. So, the previous slide. You can see that this drop announced by Cocoa Board yesterday and through the Finance Ministry is a 28% drop in the price of the producer price of cocoa. A 28% drop.
Yes.
So, before this, a metric ton of cocoa was selling at 58,000 Ghana cedis. Now we are doing 41,392 Ghana cedis. So that's a drop of 28%. And then last week, or Monday, we spoke about why the cocoa sector was going through the cocoa sector, the international market situation, where Ghana was, how our prices were, and all of that. So I think, and I was even calling for this. I remember doing the analysis, I was saying that the government should reduce the farm gate price because that's the most sustainable solution. So the farmers will not be happy because that's a 28% drop in their income, basically. But then the situation on the world markets and some of the activities of Cocoa Board resulted in this happening. Now, when the Finance Minister spoke yesterday, he mentioned that the 50,000 tons of cocoa, and this is where majority of the farmers who were agitating that they've not been paid yet, they would fall under this 50,000 metric tons of cocoa that have not been sold yet. Now, the Finance Ministry says they are still going to buy the cocoa from the farmers, so the farmers should expect payment, and they'll still pay the farmers the old farm gate price. Yeah. So now the question that we've all been asking is, where is Cocoa Board going to get this money from? Because if you listen to the Finance Minister, he said that for the rest of the season, we're not going to export our cocoa beans. So if you're not exporting your cocoa beans, how are you going to get money to buy the 50,000 metric tons of cocoa? So this is a question that most of us have been asking. And then yesterday, the Deputy Finance Minister spoke to us, and he told us that the government has agreed to absorb the cost. So that's the loss that's going to be incurred by Cocoa Board because of the high price they're still going to buy the 50,000 metric tons from the farmers.
Is it a form of haircut from where you sit? Because some will say you go to the barber shop, you demand for a particular style, but this time around they give them a boy.
Well, the Cocoa Board model is that, and this has been practicing it for a long time, once you tell farmers that for this season, this is how much we are going to pay you, farmers usually bet on that. And in fact, most times during the season, there's an increment, there's no reduction. And that's why I can go to the next slide where you see that if the trend of cocoa, the farm gate prices, you can see it's always an upward trend. It's always going up. Every other season it goes up. During the season, sometimes we have 2 pricing windows, it goes up. So farmers are not used to seeing a reduction from the farm gate prices. Sometimes you can see a reduction from not having enough cocoa beans or not having the exchange rate being in favor. But then majority of the time, cocoa farmers are used to seeing their incomes go up as the years pass by. So this is the first time since at least 2011 that farmers to see that their farm gate prices have been reduced. So in essence, I mean, you can call it a haircut, but then farmers see this as a reduction in their incomes because they are not used to this. And usually we have small-scale smallholder farms in the country, so most of the time they don't rely on so many beans to make profit or even break even, just a little beans for day-to-day activities. So for farmers, this a
before we get to the main reforms, let's go straight to Jerome Sam, who is the Corporate Affairs Manager of Cocoa Board. Thank you so much for joining us, Jerome. And we'll also be joined by Alfred as well. He's a data analyst with us. I want to first of all indicate that they are live with us right now on Zoom. Alfred and Jerome, let me first get the list that they are indeed. Jerome, if you can hear, I'll say hello. Sir.
Hi.
Wonderful. I'd like to begin first of all with you. What went into consideration before coming to this conclusion of these new reforms that is meant to transform the cocoa sector, considering the hurdle of global pricing that has caused this particular, that sparked the need for have a cabinet meeting before these final reforms came up?
So thank you very much. A lot of consideration went in, and I think that the most important thing has to do with considering the farmer, because when you consider the cocoa value chain, the most important stakeholder is the cocoa farmer. So in all our thinking, in all our dealings, it is extremely important to always put the farmer first. That is why during the announcement made by the Honorable Minister, he did indicate that out of the 4,200 that has been declared, 90% is going to the cocoa farmer. Yes, because it is the cocoa farmer that brings about this whole revenue. So at every point in time, it's only fair and very important to put the interest of the cocoa farmer first. And that is really what informed the decision being made.
One question everyone probably will be asking is the 150 billion that basically the government is intent to absorb the hurdle, the cut, the cost. Where is government going to get the money from?
Come again with the question.
Where is Ghana going to get that money to absorb the pressure as of now, especially the 150 million?
So, I mean, subsidies are something that the government always has been born in. In fact, when Dr. Randiabe assumed office as the Chief Executive of Ghana Cocoa Board, we got to realize that the prices on the international market, and in this case, in respect of even our exchange rate, began to appreciate. And whenever it does appreciate, then it means that there should have been a review to reflect, the realistic prices. That's what to have been given. But government decided that no, the cocoa farmer need not to take any hit. So whatever be the difference, we borne it. Subsequently, we did the same thing when we made an announcement for last year, August, and had a review in October. Again, we had an appreciation of the currency, because as at that time, we reviewed it to 11.5, but got later, the city appreciated and was doing in the region of the 10, 10.5, 10.9. So all the difference, government would have to absorb it. So I just gave this background for us to know that this isn't the first time that government through Cocoa Board is absorbing shock for the cocoa farmer. So this Cocoa Board is going to, even though we have made it quite clear that we are not in normal times with respect to the kind of debt and the kind of pressure that is on us. But if it is for the good of the cocoa farmer, certainly we go ahead to do it. More interestingly, giving 90% out of the 4,200 to the cocoa farmer, we are just left with a paltry 10%, and that 10% will have to cater for other industry costs, whether administrative costs, the margins we are going to give to LBCs, the rates we are going to give to the hauliers, the QCC people, the CMC. All these people form part of the 10% that is left. It is very paltry, but that also underscores the fact that government is very keen or particular about the well-being or the welfare of the cocoa farmer, and hence believe that the cocoa farmer shouldn't take any hit, even though the situation is quite consequential in respect of the effect on the cocoa farmer. But you shouldn't further implement policies that will escalate or exacerbate the kind of difficulty that the people are faced with. So yes, government through Cocoa Board is going to find the needed money in order to cushion that.
Okay, Jerome, do you have any indications when governments might start releasing funds for the cocoa purchases?
So the directive is quite simple. And I must also put on record that it has never been the case that people are rejecting the beans from Ghana. But the difficulty had been that we had our price extremely high. So that made it quite difficult for buyers to come in to buy, because they are traders. And in normal trading, if they find your commodity to be on a higher side, they possibly would go into other jurisdictions to find out if they're going to get it relatively cheaper. But in terms of the quality of our beans, in terms of the premium of our beans, that one is uncontestable. So if we have decided to reduce the price of our beans, then I know that buyers will rush in to come and get the beans. And it is not as though people are going to credit the beans. They are going to give you money, sometimes even upfront. So within the shortest possible time, we should be able to raise the needed monies to defray all the outstandings that we owe to the LBCs, for them to also make payments to our cherished farmers. So it's in no too distant future. We are not going to be talking about the issue of, no liquidity or the issue of funds not coming in. No, we are really not going to.
Jerry, sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted some clarification, because after listening to the minister yesterday, he indicated that for the rest of the season, Cocoa Board is not going to export beans, and we are going to sell it all to local processors. So I just want clarity on that. So is Cocoa Board still looking for external buyers, or the buyers you talk of, do you mean the LBCs or then local, some local processing companies?
So if in a year we've made a projection of 650,000, and as at even yesterday, you could say that 580,000 have been purchased, leaving some 70,000. The processors have the capacity to produce more than the 70,000. So if the minister directs that, the remaining 70,000, which is yet to be purchased, are to be given to the local processors, it is something that is in line, because chunk of it, which is about 89 to 90% of our total production for 2025-2026 have already been sold to our international buyers. So leaving just a paltry 10% or less to the local processors is something that I think it's in line. In fact, if you also listen to the minister, he indicated that it's going to be a policy that going forward, about 50% of our annual production are going to be retained, whereby we're going to sell it to the local processors for them to add value, to increase our revenue, creating jobs and all that. So I think that if 50% will be able, or they will be able to do with 50%, then the 10% that we are giving them is a bit of insignificant number, if I should even put it that way. So yes, we are going to retain it, and we are going to make sure that our local processors lay hands on those produce that we have.
One thing I would like to understand is we have about 10 processing companies in the country, and possibly if more, if you may enlighten, considering where you're seated and amount of information that you are privileged to. I want to understand from you, do they have the capacity to meet those processing outputs? And if they can, possibly there has been instances where these processing companies were forced to basically import from other neighboring countries because they couldn't afford the pricing to buy from Cocoa Board, the price that you are selling, because of that margin, and that subsequently affected their profit margin. How are you going to handle it in future discussions?
So I have told you that when it comes to cocoa production, Ghana's cocoa remains premium. And that is why all over the world, people are in a mad rush to get hold of Ghana's cocoa. So we are going to base on that, the niche that we've created for ourselves in terms of the premium for us to sell the cocoa bean. But if the issue of price in terms of being expensive has also come up. I think that we had a lengthy conversation with them yesterday, trying to understand the nitty-gritties of their job and their capacity, both in store capacity and all that. And we got to find out that some of the companies can even do in excess of 100,000, some can do 90,000, 70,000 and all that. So in terms of the capacity for them to operate, they do have the capacity to operate. Now it is incumbent on Cocoa Board for us to talk over the prices with them. So I think that it is at that stage that we are streamlining, and I strongly believe that whatever conversation that needs to be concluded to facilitate the pitches of our cocoa beans and subsequently adding value to create the needed job the minister spoke about, and also bringing in the revenue. It is what we are now looking at. We are not leaving you yet because it's a lengthy conversation.
I have one last question.
No, exactly. We are not even giving you last. We are just glad you joined us this afternoon. I want to get from you, is there a possibility in that conversation that domestic processors may be discounted in subsequent pricing? Is there a possibility?
But so what we do is that we always have been discounting our cocoa beans, especially the light crop. We have been discounting it to about 20% discount that we often do give. So we do give discounts to them, and that has been a long standing practice that we do. So it is something that is no new.
Okay, Jerome, so before we move to Alfred, I just want some clarity. So you do admit that we are in this mess because of Ghana's farm gate price being excessively high. Citizen from Cocoa Board, was there a problem with the forecasting and the analysis? Because sometimes in the lead up to the pricing window and all of that, or the season, the market was overfed in a sense. Supply was increasing from Cote d'Ivoire. The weather conditions across the African continent was looking favorable for cocoa production. So what exactly went into Cocoa Board pricing this high? I know Cote d'Ivoire increased their prices, so Ghana usually has to follow suit. But then, where exactly? Because if you look at the supply side, supply was doing very well. And, basic economics, once supply goes up, your price should come down. So the Cocoa Board take this into consideration. Were they planning on hoarding some beans and all of that? Just some clarity.
So I also want to make some correction. It has not been orchestrated by, the high price in terms of the farm gate price that we gave. In fact, we were even considering to giving more because the interest of the farmer is always paramount. But as you rightly put it, if you have, excess supply on the international market, it certainly would cause your commodity price to do what? To come down. So I think that this is what happened. And what made us declare an FOB of 7,200 was the fact that the Randiabe-led administration had been able to service about 235,000 metric tons of the rollover that we came to inherit. So just leaving almost about 100,000 to go. That did not impact significantly on the pricing, weighing it further down. So we were able to declare much bigger FOB, which was better as compared to 2024, even though 2024 was the period we had a peaked price up to about $12,000 per ton. But because of the rollover that we had and also other commitment that the previous administration committed Cocoa Board to, we couldn't declare much bigger FOB price for the farmer to make benefit of. But the Randiabe administration was really committed to ensuring that the cocoa farmer first, and whatever be the case, the cocoa farmer, as promised by His Excellency the President, the farmer is entitled to a 70%. So if you declare a bigger FOB, then the farmer is really going to enjoy. And that was exactly what necessitated the whole pricing strategy that we had as at last year. So it wasn't as though you didn't have your forecast right, or you didn't forward sell or what have you. I mean, these are all propositions being
espoused by Jerome, we'll come back to you shortly. Please stay with us right here on Beyond the Numbers. Let's go straight to Appiah, Alfred Appiah, who is currently joining us on Zoom. He's an analyst. Alfred, you have been consistently saying that it is best time for us to scrap cocoa board. But the case is this. First of all, the sheep was quite ill. Veterinary doctor has given it injection and given it prescriptions and treating it through various health measures. And right now, a new prescription has been released. You are saying just sacrifice the sheep and present it as a living sacrifice. What do you make of these new reforms? Is it a right direction? And if it is, what do you say technically is some of the areas that the government has to consider, considering the risks involved taking these bold initiatives?
I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
I think I should start by saying that it was a bold decision by the government to cut the cocoa farm gate price, considering the political implications, right? You know how we play our cocoa politics. And so it's a bold decision. I think in another world, somebody would have expected that if you look at some of the windfalls from, say, gold and from the cedi's appreciation on the central government's budget, right? You know, there would have been some kind of expectation that the government would subsidize and keep the prices at that level, right? So I think in that regard, it's a bold decision. One of the things that I was also expecting to hear more about, and I know there have been the argument about the 90%, giving 90% to the farmer. We always have to remember that the FOB is a policy decision, right? Like we make so many different policy considerations. Right now, we're saying the gross FOB is 4,200. Cocoa prices can increase, and then that would impact the FOB. The FOB is always a projection, right? So it's not that we are necessarily tying 90% to the world market price, right? Like it's just a projection of what we think it's going to be, considering all the other policy implications, policy things that we do, right? So that's an important clarification. At the end of the day, the cocoa farmer has seen a decline in the prices, and that's important from a welfare perspective, right? Even if you take the data, you adjust it for inflation, you see that the farmers will be worse off than when they were getting 3,625, right? And so I think in terms of the reforms that have been announced, I also expected to hear more about the quasi-fiscal things that the Cocoa Board has been doing, particularly they floated the idea of we're going to do free seedlings, we're going to do Cocoa Board scholarship. Like I need to hear more about the fact that those are non-core activities of the Cocoa Board. And those also, we need to hear what the government's plans for those are. Because when it comes to policy in Ghana, right, it's not about the intent. Like you can always justify whatever. Like it's good that we give Cocoa Board scholarship. I grew up in the Western North region. I was a child of a cocoa farmer. I would have benefited from the Cocoa Board scholarship, right? I think the intent is very good. It is always just how we operationalize that intent. That's always our problem. And so we don't want to have these. The reason we are talking about Cocoa Board now and all these issues is that, historically, all these things that are well intended have all these administrative overheads that essentially rendered them ineffective, right? And not so. To me, instead of all those quasi-fiscal things that Cocoa Board is planning to do, I know they've talked about cancelling the cocoa roads. I think cocoa roads are. I want to say they are like low-hanging fruit in a sense. The real one. You know how
huge the cocoa roads does were.
Yes,
taking this decision, how will it transform the sector, and how lesser of a burden will it have on Cocoa Board?
I think definitely that the amounts were huge, right? And so taking that off definitely is important. But what I'm also referencing is that the other ones that they are planning to do, like the seedlings and all those ones also get engulfed in a lot of procurement issues, right? So I think that they need to be getting out of all of that and focus on the core mandate of Cocoa Board is what I'm trying to say. One question that you had asked Jerome, and I think he wasn't, I don't think I got a clear answer, was around the trading strategy that was done this year. Right? Because the FOB that they declared would have been, historically, it's a projection of how much forward sales they've done, what they think the prevailing market conditions is going to do. So when you look at the things that impact the FOB, it is the expected outputs, the dollar exchange rate, all those have held up. The one thing that has not held up is the cocoa prices. So it will be interesting to hear what their projections of the cocoa price was, like, in terms of what influenced that, how much forward sales, what percentage of forward sales have been. And we know that historically we're doing about 70%, up to 70% of forward sales. So this particular season, how much was done? Because I think the cocoa board needs a bit more scrutiny, in my opinion. The management need a bit more scrutiny in terms of what trading strategy was adopted this year and how we are in this cash crunch that we are in. And I think, and I can also talk about the processing, because I think you asked a very brilliant question. It is not so much about the processing capacity. It is about the ability to buy the beans, buy the raw material, and be able to compete with all these foreign buyers, right? That's always some of the problems that the local processors face. And that's why we talk about cocoa being premium and all of that. That essentially impacts the ability to compete and get the raw material. So we can, by administrative fiat, we can say we want 50% retain. Do they have the credit, and do they have the sort of like the balance sheet to be able to finance those purchases, right? And then we're going to get into another issue where farmers have delayed payment because the local buyers are not able to purchase or to be able to finance the crop purchases. So those are things, again, local processing. When I want to analyze policy, I want to look beyond the intent, right? The intent is great. Like, we want to add value locally. We want to be able to do that. This is something that we've been talking about since independence, or since even before that, right? But it's about the details of that, all these things, all these questions that we need to ask of Cocoa Board and the government. And I think that's where I would maybe end this.
I want to, Alfred, are interested enough. You've made very important points in your submission. I want to understand the new model has proposed for the rollout of the cocoa bill. Those who bought the bonds were initially, last year was quite difficult. So years before, they lost their huge investment. In terms of market access, do you think, due to previous experiences of haircuts, do you think people will be anxious enough or ready to risk it with this new bond that will be floated?
I think part of that will also be even dependent on the government's own reopening of the local bond market, right? And the investor appetite there. I think that regardless, investors will always be looking for ways, and they'll be looking for options where to put their money. And so, in fact, we've always been dependent on government treasuries in the last number of, the short-term end of their treasuries anyways. And so I think having those options is definitely important. So if it is backed by the cocoa productions, right, it's backed by the cocoa sales, which I think is what the government is proposing, then I think there will be the investor appetite for that. One of the things that I think is interesting though is that, cocoa used to be one of top earners in terms of forex, right? But with gold skyrocketing, it's almost like the Bank of Ghana is not really paying attention there, because of course gold is now at number one earner. So we're not really, because I would have expected actually to see how the Bank of Ghana was going to even intervene in this regard. In another world where gold was not leading and being responsible for close to 70% of export earnings, I think cocoa would have gotten more attention in this regard. But I think that in terms of the investors, this is another opportunity for them. The history is important, of course, but I think that investors are always also looking for these opportunities. So I think it would again be dependent on how the government's own secondary bond bond market reopening, which I think we expected to happen sometime in the next little while, how that would be received by the investors as well.
Interesting. Alfred, stay with us. We'll come back shortly. And I want to go back to the graphics to assess really some few numbers, some of the reforms that government proposed, so that our viewers can understand that these are realistic stuff that we can see. We have cocoa sector reforms. The finance minister announced yesterday automatic producer price adjustment. Basically, Caleb, enlighten us.
Yes, so how every quarter or so PRC comes out with adjustments with the tariffs to pay electricity. This is somewhat similar to what cocoa farmers should expect. So we don't know how often it's going to be, but then every now and then. The
quarterly PRC, this is going to be, they have not given us a time frame.
Exactly, because the justification that when cocoa prices go up, the farmer should benefit. When it comes down, the farmer should be willing to sacrifice a bit for the government. But the question is, commodity prices are volatile sometimes. So how volatile, or what's the time frame? Is it going to be every quarter, or whenever there's a steep drop that happens? All of these things will come into play. And again, these things, sometimes the price of cocoa on the market is heavily impacted by our supply. So how is the cocoa board working to support the supply, ensuring that we are not oversaturating the market and all of that? So that comes into play with the automatic price adjustments. Again, we need to understand whether there's a price floor and the lowest point at which cocoa can fall, that the government will say, okay, we're not going to go below this, we're going to support you. Because once you have an automatic price adjustment, it doesn't take into consideration the welfare of the farmer sometimes, because it's mechanical. So if cocoa prices fall below a certain point, does the government say we're not going to adjust it to that point because it's too low for the farmer? We need to understand how this will work, because it's going to be law, it's going to be in the bill. So we need to understand the provisions for all of that. So that's about the automatic price adjustment.
And about the issue of cocoa bonds, which we spoke about. Jerome have said that government is ready. Alfred also says it's a bold decision, but as in the sentiment to the market is something that they are yet to receive.
And yes, and we have to understand how the government intends to even roll out its bond. That's what Alfred was talking about, because if the government's issuance is not that successful, that definitely impacts cocoa board's issuance, and also whether cocoa board might be able to get enough investors to kick this off. So we have to, it's a wait and see approach. We have to see how, this is very important, cleaning cocoa board's books. Because the market needs to understand that cocoa board has the balance sheet to support the bonds they are going to issue out. So this is going to be the next step for the government. The government said they are clearing some of the road liabilities and some of the liabilities owed to the BOG and the Finance Ministry. Once that happens, then cocoa board is a step further to issuing the bonds. But then again, like Alfred rightly said, the market is going to watch how the government itself comes back to the bond market, the duration, the interest rates, whether it's moving, all of that. That's very important before cocoa board can then step to the market. And it's been interesting to hear from Jerome whether cocoa board might enter the markets before the government of Ghana, whether they have any intentions of cocoa board issuing their bonds before the government of Ghana.
So all these play comes into the picture, because we know by August Ghana will fully be out of the IMF program.
Exactly.
Where we are, many are saying, can we handle our affairs? This is the time for us to demonstrate that if we can, how best can we do it to ensure the ripple effect will not affect the citizens eventually. And at least 50% of beans processed locally, 10% of local processing, we know some of them. And if you go through some of the books, especially CPC, I've attended some of their annual general meetings, and it will tell you that they are indeed have the potential, but some of the factories and facilities have been idle for several years because we've refused to give them enough beans to meet up the capacity that they can produce. So yes,
sometimes it's not just about the beans, but also the balance sheets. Can they even buy up to capacity? Again, this is a sector. The LBCs, they already own the banks. So are the processing companies going to the same banks to try and get loans to process beans from people that...
So fewer banks, but still they need all of them are lending money from them.
So understanding the liquidity in the sector, how cocoa board is going to address some of the debts they owe the LBCs, because once LBCs are owning banks, the same processing companies will find it difficult to get credits from the same banks. Again, are there ready buyers for the processed beans? Processed beans? Do we have ready markets? What's the value chain and all of that? So I think it's not just about focusing on one thing, but the entire value chain, and then getting to understand how the government and cocoa board intends to roll.
Interesting enough, one thing that the government has proposed is how long is it going to take for these to come into full implementation? Because some companies or some countries took 10 years maximum or minimum to meet up with, ensure the sustainable local production, because we are talking about sustainability of this particular proposition. We hope. Now, government says streamline cocoa board's cost.
And this is very important.
Yes.
This is very important because we're all talking about reducing the farm gate price and how that's not supposed to affect the farmer too much, which is why the government is trying to give them 90% of their realized price. But then also, cocoa board's operations have to come into conversation. We cannot leave them out of this. Because over time, the administration cost goes up, and all of this is basically funded by the cocoa farmer. So once we are rebooting or resetting, as the government likes to say, the entire cocoa sector, we need to understand how cocoa board is going to do this to itself. How they're going to ensure prudence and management, administrative costs, no cost overruns, all of these things need to take center stage. Because once you are asking the farmers to tighten their belt, you need to tighten your belt as well.
All right, no export remainder of the season. So certainly that is quite clear and simple enough for us. Let's go straight to Jerome, who is joining us from Cocoa Board right now. We want to understand from you one key question I'm sure everyone is asking. We have more overhead costs and administrative expenditures on Cocoa Board than the number of farmers who are currently...
The number of staff at Cocoa Board.
Exactly, the number of staff at Cocoa Board. So, Jerome, how is government intending to streamline the Cocoa Board's cost, considering the current challenges that is right now on your doorsteps?
Thank you. I think that Dr. Randiabe has started this even before the government stepped in, because the first thing he did was to cause an audit, an HR audit, to really unearth whether Cocoa Board has that number of staff as been reported. So that is the first step. And then the second step has to do with, he has also raised issues about some conditions of service that Cocoa Board staffs are entitled to, even to the extent that some national service people, by the fact that they've been opportune or privileged to be with Cocoa Board as service personnel, also get to enjoy certain benefits and all that. And this add up to the cost that Cocoa Board will have to bone within a particular season. So conversations have started around to deal with some of these issues. And also he has tried to cut down fuel, because when you come to the head office, he's been able to put in measures whereby we are saving no less than 1 million cities every month out of the fuel pictures. And also the issues of travels, because foreign travels. Cocoa Board is an institution that travels a lot, but hey, he came and he said, look, if you are traveling and it has no direct bearing in terms of the development of this organization, then it makes no practical sense. It makes no sense for somebody to travel for the person's personal interest and what have you. So if it has no relation in respect of helping in sustaining or developing the organization, then what business do you have, or why should Cocoa Board fund whatever travel expense that it has to? So there are some measures that have already been put in place to ensure that we cut down some wasteful or needless expenditure and all that. So that one I can stick my neck out and tell you that yes, he's on course.
Jerome, before we let you go, we know you've mentioned that the management now is taking some cost-cutting measures, but then in the annual reports and subsequent reports that are released by Cocoa Board, usually we do not see this correlation with the administrative costs. Can you quantify this for us? Can you give specific policy measures that have been implemented by the new management as that's resulted in this reduction?
I wish I could show you some letters. I mean, these are not just word of mouth. It's been documented, and I think I should have a copy somewhere that, if not for the want of time, I could have showed you, even to the extent that if I want to put it item 13 or refreshment, whatever, that is even being served during meetings, having cut. So today you come to Cocoa Board, you sit in a meeting, if you've not taken your breakfast or if you've not eaten from your house, then I'm sorry. There's no way Cocoa Board is going to be responsible for that. But I think that going forward, looking through some documents here, I should be able to, and possibly... Okay,
whilst we're looking for the document, let me get final words from Alfred. Alfred, your final words before we go.
And are you happy with the development?
I think any kind of cost-cutting measure it's a welcoming move. I still think that those are not enough. And we should be talking about, I think Cocoa Board had a turnaround strategy, right? And I don't know to what extent that turnaround strategy is actually being implemented. That was developed under the IMF program. The one thing that I should say to my friend Jerome here is that Cocoa Board should also make sure they are publishing the annual report. Their last one was 2021. That was the last one that is published on their website. I don't think, as one of our biggest state-owned enterprises, is to represent them well that they are not publishing their annual report for us to scrutinize some of these things.
And I also want to add that your website a bit, in terms of data hunters, it's difficult to get access to information from Cocoa Board. Gerald, what do you say to that?
Oh, no. It's not, because I sit here at Public Affairs and then I sign out to, requests that people have made. So now you are enjoying...
Not just requests, but you have a website, and they should be there. Yeah, so easy access. And
I've even gone a step further to even tell you that now you are enjoined by law. under the RTI, you're enjoined by law for you to make available some of this information that hitherto it wouldn't have been made public. But you see, one other important thing that I have to posit is that when Dr. Randy Abbey came, he realized that Cocoa Board had been presenting its report to SIGA, all right? However, interestingly, you will not find the financials of Cocoa Board being reported to. So he asked a lot of questions that, like, what is going on? What are you hiding? So you have nothing to hide. Why is it that your financials are not being reported? So if he came in and has raised issues about that, I think you'll be the last person for him to conceal certain information in respect of the finances of Cocoa Board. So trust me, I think going forward, all this information...
Now, in trusting you, I want to understand from you, based on what you just said, is it a situation that the rot has been happening for several years, now it's become a cancer that needs to be cut off?
You see, whether it has become cancerous or it has become institutionalized or what have you, if you have a leader who is committed to dealing with it, no matter how concretized it has become, you'll be able to deal with it. And I think that I have that firm belief that under the leadership of Dr. Randabi, some of these unnecessary expenses and rot and what have you will be dealt with. I mean, a leader who has come, he tells you that, look, these are the ways and means possibly I can get money sitting here as Cocoa Board Chief Executive, because the systems are there. But in as much as it would inure to my personal benefit, I'm not going to do that. And that is why he agreed to the fact that Cocoa Board need not to engage in road construction. It doesn't make any sense, because that is not our core responsibility. So we shouldn't do that. But if you sit here and sign on to a road contract, certainly somebody might come and say that, oh, thank you, or whatever. But the person is not thinking about his personal
Amazing. Now, you are getting a document for us before we go. Can you enlighten us about the document you were picking before we go?
Oh, I think you distracted me, so I had to stop.
Jerome.
Okay, but Jerome,
picking it up. We waited for you. I didn't.
Okay, but Jerome, before you go,
I'm happy to see my Western North colleague. I don't know if my Seshi brother or our main brother.
All right, we'll text you for the document so that we can let our viewers know.
And Jerome, since we've spoken about the, making publicly available Cocoa Board's financials, we hope that in the coming weeks and coming months you publish all the financials on your website.
Don't worry, I'm in charge of that, and I'll do that.
Yeah. All right, we'll take you by your word. Thank you so much, Jerome, for making time for us, and also Alfred Pia for joining us. We appreciate your insight, gentlemen, and have a wonderful weekend. And also, we'll be expecting some cocoa cakes from Cocoa Board.
No, I will direct you to CPC for chocolate.
That's a nice one. Thank you, gentlemen, for speaking with us. Indeed, this is Beyond the Numbers, so we brought you insights from the cocoa sector, the reforms that have been brought by the finance minister. We were unable to bring you the analysis that has to do with Ghana's manufacturing sector. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Winston Tackie, and this with
Ziblim.
Yes, and he's been expecting some chocolate from his sweetheart, and certainly myself. I've been
waiting since yesterday, but I've not received anything.
You haven't received it. All right, it will certainly come. So there's no much to say about that. And have a wonderful weekend and happy Valentine's Day to all the loved ones as we step off. Goodbye.